Okay, what's going on, everybody? So where do I begin? It's been a crazy 8.5 months or 9 months for me. Let me tell you. Let me start by saying that I finished up my last model, the Dora railway gun, back in September. So in about another week, it's going to be a year. And I posted a video in January kind of letting you know what was going on a little bit. Well, things got progressively worse. I've gotten a lot of messages and emails from guys wanting to know where I've been, how I'm doing, and what's going on. And honestly, I wanted to reply to everybody, but I just couldn't. One thing was my eyes, all of a sudden, since all this started, it gotten progressively worse. I just got done with, about a month ago, the beginning of July, I had cataract surgery on my right eye, and then about a week and a half later I had cataract surgery on my left eye. And let me tell you, that's the neatest thing since sliced bread. I can see now. Before, I was having to read the computer with my reading glasses and a magnifier. I couldn't see nothing. The wife did most of the driving if we ever went out, because it was bad. Especially at night, I couldn't hardly see. I couldn't read signs and things. So finally she got me an appointment with an eye doctor and got it all taken care of. It's great. I can read the computer and everything without even having my reading glasses. So that was one of the obstacles I had to get over. My back. I told you guys I've always had back problems all my life. 46 years as a truck driver, you're gonna have back problems. And this has been the worst I've ever had. I'm still suffering through it. I'm still trying to get over it. But I think the next step will probably have to be surgery, but I'm holding off on that and seeing how things go. The pain had gone down my sciatic nerve through the front part of my legs, not the back, but the front part of my legs. And it actually got into both legs. And it had gone down through my thigh, through my knee, and down my shin. And there was times I was just, you know, you go to the doctor and they ask you, how's your pain level on 1 to 10? I said, well, your scale doesn't go high enough. I'm a 10 plus. And so I had 2 back procedures. The first one was an epidural. I had an epidural on the right side and an epidural on the left side. That gave me a little bit of relief. And then a couple months later, I went back to see him and he suggested surgery. And I said, well, wait a minute. My family doctor talked about some kind of block that you guys can do. And he said, yeah, we can do that. So it was a lower lumbar block of some kind. I don't know what it is. That was not something you want to go through. I got 16 shots in my lower back. The first 8 shots, 4 on each side, were Novocaine to numb it up for him to put the other 8 needles in. Now them first 8 shots, they kind of hurt. And then they put the other needles in, which you don't feel now, and they inject this fluid, and it's supposed to somehow block the nerve endings, okay? Because what they're telling me is I got arthritis back there and some bad disc. So I'm still in pain. I have trouble sleeping at night. I have to take my Lala pills in order to get some kind of sleep at night. And I don't take them during the day because I refuse to be in that no zone state all day long. So the one problem I had was as it was going down through my knees, I could be walking along. I finally had to get a cane. I was walking with a cane. And I could be walking along and my knee would just give out and down I'd go. That happened about over a dozen times, man, and it was embarrassing out in public, and it was bad around the house. You know, I just never knew when the next step you took, you were going to wind up rolling around on the floor. So a couple times I tried to come down here, and the first step I took, my knee went out, and this happened to me twice. And luckily, instead of going down the steps, I fell backwards into the hallway. So that kind of freaked me out. So from then on, anytime I wanted to come down here, I had to slide down them steps on my butt. Okay? So it just became impossible for me to come down here and do anything. And I'm walking without the cane now, but I still got to be careful. Steps are my enemy. It's a pain in the butt to come down these steps. I have to do them one at a time, and I have to hang on to the wall and onto the railing. Going back up, it's even worse. So I just haven't been able to come down here. And then again, I went to the doctor too. I went to my family doctor around the first of the year, and they told me they have never seen sugar levels this high before in a person. I was way up there because I was feeling kind of wonky, you know, kind of dizzy and stuff, and I thought it was from my legs, but it wasn't. And so they put me on some medicine to get my sugar down. That took about 2 months. Wife threw away all my good stuff. All the ice cream was gone. All my sugar bear was gone. No more sweets. No more nothing. But I knew I had to get it under control, and I pretty much got it. But the problem was they put me on this pill called metformin. I was on 1,000 milligrams of that. And one of the side effects is it makes you nauseated. At least it did for me. And for about 3 months, every friggin' day, around between 3 and 5 o'clock, I got sick to my stomach. I just got nauseated bad. And then when that would happen, I wasn't hungry. I just wouldn't eat. So I lost some more weight. If you go back and look at some of my old videos, you'll see how much I've lost. In about a year and a half, I lost about 100 pounds. And I'm to the point now where I'm trying to put some weight back on. So between all three things, my back, which is still giving me problems, I'm a type 2 diabetic now, so I'm still on medication for that. And my eyes, I was miserable. I've been in bad shape. If it hadn't been for my wife to help me get through this, I don't know what I'd done. There was one night where she had to take me to the emergency room because the pain in my legs was just so bad I just couldn't take it. And they shot me up with some, what do you call it, stuff they give you in the war. I got a brain fart. Anyway, they shot me up pretty good in the hospital. And so for about a day and a half, I was feeling great. But once that wore off, I was back, you know. So they got me on some good pain medicine, and I'm doing pretty good at night now, getting some sleep. But if I stay active during the day, I'm not too bad. But it's kind of hard to get up and want to walk around when your legs are hurting you. So I tried to come down here around the first of the year after I built that model. I thought, well, no, I got to get back into something. So I started with this. I thought, well, I'll start with something small. So I went out and bought this model, the Foose Ford F100. And you can see here I got all the parts laid out, ready the primer, and I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't come down here. So I couldn't do anything. So I'm trying to get started back on that and get it finished. Just a little something to get me back in the mood, you know. But for about the past month and a half, I have been coming down here quite regularly, as much as I can. And I've been working on my second hobby, which is stamp collecting. So I've been trying to get caught back up with that. I've got all the stamps for the past 2 years. I just had to get them into my catalogs and get them listed on my computer, what I've got. So it's been a bad year for me, and that's why, like I said, I haven't answered anybody's comments or emails, and I really do appreciate the guys that were concerned about me, wanting to know what was going on. So that's why I'm putting out this video now. So just wanted to let you know that I'm still here. You know, whether I'm going to really get back into this or not, it depends. It all depends on how my legs go. They progressively have gotten a little better, but let me tell you, my thighs have gotten all right. The pain in my thighs is subsided substantially, but now it's moved down to my shins. They're giving me fits, and let me tell you, it's hard to sleep at night when the top of your foot starts throbbing, and you got aches and pains in your shins. And then I get what I call a zinger, where every once in a while a nerve will hit somewhere in my leg, and it hits, and it's like 2 bee stings at once. You know, I call them zingers. Boy, they jolt you, they wake you up. So you know, my big project I had that I wanted to do, it's going to be put on hold. I don't know if I'll get back into this or not. I really would like to, because I had fun doing it. I'm sitting here right now looking across the room at the Dora, and how much work I put into that, and it's still a good looking model. But I don't know, I got to get through some of this stuff, you know, some of this. And like I said, I'm really trying to keep up on my stamp collection. I can't let that go. I've given up on Canada. I had a real nice collection of Canada going, but I had to give up on that. I'm about 2 years behind on that, and it got, like I said, it got too expensive. You know, that stamp collecting got to be more expensive than modeling. So let me get the camera turned around a little bit here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about with my stamp collecting, and what I do, and what's going on with that. Oh yeah, and something else. I want to give you guys a little warning. When I was working on the Blue Nose, my ship, and that was a couple years ago, I would sit down and I would work on that model for 8 to 10 hours at a time. And the same way with the Dora, I would come down here, and it wasn't as much, but it was, you know, 5 or 6 hours. I would be down here working on that model. And let me show you what I was doing and why I think I started having back problems. So let me get the camera turned around and show you guys, and maybe warn anybody that's having. I know that Brian Simmons said he was having some back problems, and I don't know, it could be from what I'm about to show you. But let me get the camera turned around here and show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so I noticed 2 things when I was working on that Blue Nose, and like I said, it was sometimes 8 to 10 hours a day, maybe even longer, and I would have a stiff back, and also my chest started hurting. And what I was doing, and even on this this Dora, it was even more severe on that, because I had so many small parts I was trying to clean up. And I even bought me a new chair to try and get some better back support. But check yourselves out. You probably catch yourselves doing this. It's hard to lay back or sit back in this chair and try to work on small parts that you're trying to clean up, because you can't see them. You got to be up close. You got your magnifiers on. You got to be leaning over this part, making sure it stays here if you drop it. And what was happening was, if you see what I'm doing, I'm sitting on the edge of the chair. I've got no back support. And after about 8 or 10 hours of this, my chest started hurting because I was compressing my chest. Okay, and there were days that, you know, it hurt pretty bad. And then I'd start getting a stiff back. And, you know, I don't know what to tell you. I guess if you're going to do this and you catch yourself sitting on the edge of the chair instead of leaning back, get yourself a back brace or something. Something to support your back. Because this ain't right. And I think over time, because it took, what, I can't remember, 6-8 months to do that blue nose, and a couple months on this thing. And over time of doing that, I guess I just, you know, got my back. My back is not really my problem. I don't have severe back pain. Yeah, every once in a while it's a little stiff, but it doesn't inhibit me from doing anything. I still pick up the dog. She weighs 20 pounds. She's a little, you know, like picking up a box of rocks. But my back is not really my problem. It's the nerves that are going down my leg is what's giving me the fit. So anyway, I'm just a little warning to you. You know, if you catch yourself where you start feeling like you got a stiff back, take a break, lean back in the chair, get yourself a good chair, and you know, if you need to, get yourself a back brace, because you will catch yourself that this is all you do is sit here all day long working on these small parts. All right. Let's get on to my other hobby. Okay, now if you're not interested in postage stamps or anything like that, you know, you might as well just cut it right here. But I know a couple guys were asking, they wanted to see what I was doing, and wanted to see what my other hobby was. And This goes back, my wife started around 1990 collecting, and she got up to the year 2000 and said that was it. She wasn't going to buy no more stamps and just concentrate on what we had and go from there. So the year 2000, I kind of took over, okay? And I started going to stamp shows and getting everything I could that I could afford, you know, and I'll show you what I mean by that. But today, most of my stamps I order from the post office in Kansas City. They send me a magazine 4 times a year, and I order out of that magazine, and I get what I need. And then what I can't get, or what I can't get the way I want, I go to a stamp show and purchase them like that. Alright, so this is from, this one book right here is what I've been working on for about the past month or two. This is from the year 2016 because I had stopped at 2015, and I thought, I got to get caught up on this, because if I don't, it'll get out of hand and it'll get away from me. So this is the stamps I've gotten. Let me see if I can put this on some, raise this up a little bit somehow. See if you can see that better. Let me focus in a little bit more. Don't worry about my face. Okay. But this starts with the year 2016, and this is all the postage stamps that the U.S. Post Office puts out. Okay, and this is what I call a souvenir sheet, I try to collect them the best I can. Let me get the glare off of it so you can see it. Okay. And they got a lot of them that come out. All right. Here's Shirley Temple, and then this is her. They've been running this Legends of Hollywood for about 12 or 15 years. So I collected in what I call Souvenir Sheet. Okay. And it just goes on like that. Just all the postage stamps, like I said, that the U.S. Post Office puts out. All right. And you can see some blank spots here. I've got those stamps, but here's one of them right here. It calls for 2 stamps, calls for a pair. Well, when I bought it, it came like this. It came 4 stamps. Okay? And I don't want to break that up. So next stamp show I got, I'll buy 2 of them from the collector that I usually go to, and then I can fill in that blank spot. Okay? But it just, you know, goes on and on. This is still 2016. And like I said, you know, stamps now are 50 cents a piece, so you can imagine what you're getting into here. There's Wonder Woman, and then there's Wonder Woman. Still in 2016. And a lot of people don't know these stamps even exist. Because you go to the post office and you need some stamps, and they usually sell you the flags. Everybody buys the flags. But how many people knew that they put out this little block of 4 pickup trucks? Okay? And then a block of 4 of these birds. A lot of people just don't know this stuff exists. They put out, well over 100 and some stamps a year. A couple years ago, they put out 200 something stamps a year. And, but like I said, people, now we're starting in 2017. When you go to the post office, most of the time, this is what they give you. These flags. All right? You can buy them, you know, in a booklet. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different versions of that flag put out, you know. And that's what most people use. And very few people use stamps anymore. You just, you know, I get mail. I'm always looking for the stamp on there because I've got a book over there, well, 3 books really, of used stamps. These are all mint. These have never been used. Okay? And this is 2017 now. And it just goes on and on and on. Alright? How many people knew that they put out sharks last year? A thing of sharks. I think there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different sharks there. Here's a neat one, this one here. I bet a lot of people didn't know this exists. The total eclipse of the sun. Now I'm not going to get it out of there and show you, but if you put your finger on that, it'll show you the sun. It's the first stamp they ever done that to. It's heat activated, so you would touch it and it would give you an image. Not too many people knew that existed. That was rare. I think that was the first time they'd done that. I got something else. Yeah, it's in another book here. I'll show you in a second. It's the first time they ever done something else. Here's a neat one. This is sharp. Bioluminescent life. I think that's one of the first times they, I don't know if you can see it, but it's see it change in colors, like illuminating itself. I'm looking for, now this is 2018. Here's Scooby-Doo. This is 2018 now, and I've got to order it, but they got one that comes with 3 of these images on it, okay? And if you turn it a certain way, the rabbit goes in and out of the hat, okay? Those are, you know, in a few years, none of this stuff is really worth a whole lot. If I go to a dealer, let's say I need one of these, which I will. I have to get one from a dealer to fill a blank spot in my book. But I go to a dealer, that's a 50-cent stamp from the post office. It costs me $1 from the dealer. That's book value. What I call book value is the Scott catalog. The Scott catalog is like a Bible for stamp collecting. It has every stamp ever made from just about every country, if you got all the catalogs, and gives you a value of them, what they're worth. So that's from the year 2016. I'll be filling this up in a couple years. Then I get into, we go back a little bit further here. This is from 2008. I wish this would stay up here. This is from 2008. Let me zoom in a little more for you. There we go. 2008, and they ran a series of the 50 states, 50 state flags. Ran that series. That's all them. Here's what I mean about the flags. Okay. There are, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different versions of that flag. And then they did this Liberty Bell. There's a bunch of versions of that. That got kind of crazy. They do what is called micro printing, where you have to have a super good magnifier. I've got, let me see if I can find it. Hold on. Let's see if I can find that little thing. Well, I can't find it right now. It's in my box here somewhere of supplies. But I've got a super tight, kind of like what the jewelers use when they're looking at diamonds. And they got what is called micro printing, where it's so small that you have to have that magnifier where the letters USA are somewhere on this bell. And you have to find that, and that identifies what stamp it is. Okay? Anything else of interest? Let me see here. They ran this series of stamps for a few years. Here's a Christmas, 1, 2, 3 different versions of those nutcrackers. And this, I don't know what the big deal is with the Chinese New Year, but they've been doing this. Well, here I am, 2000. This goes way back. Every year they come out with a different stamp for the Chinese New Year. I don't know why we have to celebrate their New Year. We got our own. Once again, more Liberty Bells down here. More Liberty Bells, more different flags. Purple Heart they came out with. They got quite a few of those over the year. Let's see, I don't want to sit here and bore everybody to death, but this stuff goes on and on. They did the Civil War. I think they ran that for about 5 years. Each year they came out with a different stamp and thing. And then you would buy this sheet, and there's 2 stamps on the front of it, and then there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 more on the back. There's another Civil War. Disney, Pixar films. I got a bunch of them because whenever we send the kids, the grandkids, birthday thing or whatever, I always pick out them, put them on there for them. Oh, it just, you know, this is what I say. This is expensive. Here's some stamps that came out with. This is why it gets expensive. There's a $1 stamp, $2 stamp, $5 stamp, $10 stamp. Okay, so all adds up in a year's time. You got a few bucks invested in this. There's another Chinese New Year. That's for the year 2013. And I got them in these protective sleeves, and they're acid free. Everything here is acid free paper and these protective sleeves, because once again, let me show you. If you can see, these stamps are in a mount, okay? And it gets expensive when you got to try and buy them bigger mounts. Pretty expensive. But all my stamps are in these mounts to protect them. So they're not only on acid-free paper, but acid-free mounts. And it really protects them. Here is that one that they ran, the post office did. This one right here. Let me get it in view. This one right here. Post office came out with this. And it was in celebration of the airplane, the Jenny, that was accidentally produced upside down. Gosh, back in the 20s. Which, if you were lucky enough to get one of them, you know, I think a block of 4 from the original set went for over $1 million. Now, don't think you're going to pass one of these off as one, but what I'm getting at here is the post office came out with this, and I don't know how many hundreds of thousands they put out. 100, they made 100 with this plane. Right now the plane is upside down, okay? They made 100 with the plane right side up. If you were lucky enough to get one of those, they distributed them at random to post offices. And the last time I saw, I think about 30 of them had been found, and they're selling for $75,000 from a dealer. I went out and bought about 8 of these, and those are $2 stamps. So there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. That's $12 for that. And I bought about 8 of them, trying to hit the lottery, and it didn't work. So some of them people got lucky. I think a lot of people bought them and didn't know what they were, probably got them and didn't know what they had, and just used them as postage. But it was, a lot of people raised hell about it, you know, about the way it was handled. But, you know, you just had to be lucky, be at the right post office at the right time. A lot of the people behind the counter, the post office people, didn't even know about it. I go in, they said, "What are you ordering these for?" And I said, "Didn't you hear?" I said, "They made 100 of them different, and they're selling for $75,000 from dealers. And they were like, what? So they started buying them up. And they were put in an envelope in such a way you couldn't see through the envelope. They had cardboard on both sides, so they couldn't cheat. You couldn't look into the envelope and see what was there. So, and this book here goes up to 2015. There's Elvis Presley. All right. Now let's see here. Let me put this one aside. Let me see what I got here. Oh, now they're getting heavy. This is where I got started at, the year 2000, where I started taking over, and then I'll show you what else I did. But this is when I started collecting pretty heavy. They did a series of these. It's in another book, but they did a series of these. This is 1980. I think they started at 1900, and then every 10 years. 1980s, what's the next one? 1990s, and then they quit. Let's see here, if I got anything interesting in here. Oh yeah, here's some of my most valuable ones. Let me get the first one if I can. I need Donald Duck, or Bugs Bunny. It must be in another one. Must be in another book. I'm not sure. I thought it was in here. Let me look for it here real fast. I need Bugs Bunny. Where you at, Bugs Bunny? That's Roadrunner. Maybe it's in the other book. Anyway, what they've done was, now where'd that go? What happened to Daffy Duck, or the Roadrunner? Come on, guys, help me out here. What they've done, the first one that came out was Bugs Bunny. I think they did 5 of this series. They got Donald Duck, or not Donald Duck, Daffy Duck, Porky Pig, here's the Roadrunner and Coyote. But the first one they did was Bugs Bunny. And you got 3, 6, 9 stamps here and 1 over here. And what happened was, these are perforated. And what I mean by perforated, they're separated by, you can peel them each apart. But when it came to this one, they didn't perforate it. Okay? I don't know if it was a mistake or what, but anyway, that became a valuable collector's item, and I've got it. And it's one of the more valuable ones. I think it's going now for around $110 for the Bugs Bunny. And that's the way this is. This one is perforated, this one is not. Okay? But it's not worth as much, because once they caught their mistake, they thought, well, let's just do it like this for all of them. But the Bugs Bunny was the mistake, and it became valuable. There wasn't a whole lot of them out there. And that's another thing. I forget what they call this. You have to look at this certain ways to see the image. There's another thing. They'll produce these stamps, okay? And they'll make maybe 200,000, maybe 1 million of them. Who in the hell's buying all them stamps? They ain't buying all of them. I can't imagine how many stamps the post office has left over at the end of a year that they just don't sell. But every once in a while they'll come along with some stamps where they maybe make 100,000 or 200,000, and they become hard to get and they become valuable. Okay, but it's when they do this and make 2 million of them, it's just a stamp. You can still probably get them today. They're, dealers have got them, want to unload them. Here was one of them that became valuable. If I can find it. Here it is, Peanuts. They didn't make a whole lot of them, so I can't remember what that's worth. It's not a whole lot, but it's worth something. Thought I had something else in here. Here's Bugs Bunny. Now, no, that's not Bugs Bunny. This is Porky Pig. I'm sorry, that's Porky Pig. Bugs Bunny must be in another book. But this just goes on here. You talk about flags? Look at that. 2002. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 different versions of that flag. I can get the light from showing on it. 13 different versions. Now you say, what's the difference in them? Well, if you can see from the first one up there in the corner, the perforations, and you got to have a special gauge to measure that. Then perforations are probably different. This here is from a coil. Some of them are from booklets. They're just a little something different about each one. Okay? And that's why there was 13 different versions. Now, how many people you think went out and collected all 13? I did. There's some more of them. I think that's the same flag, just a different year. That's the kind of things you had to watch for, you know. The lighthouses. There's that series they ran. Reptiles. John Wayne. Everybody likes John Wayne. This is what they call the Legends of Hollywood. And like I said, once a year they come out with somebody. They did it for like about 13 or 14 years, and then they stopped, and then they started it up again. So I think there's about, don't correct me, you can correct me on this if I'm wrong, but I think there's about 15 different ones. Then they get into this stupid stuff here. A 5-cent stamp, a 1-cent stamp, a 2-cent stamp, 3-cent stamp, 4-cent stamp, 10-cent stamp, and then they had to be different, you know. Like one's a coil, perfed a certain way. It got crazy with them. Some of them might be a different year, and that's why I keep them together, because I go by, if you see that number underneath of them, that's what they call a Scott number. That's how you identify all your stamps, that Scott number. 1, 2, 3, 4 different versions of the Christmas ornaments. There's another one down below you're not seeing. I can't hardly hold this book up. Just take my word for it. Here's another Legends of Hollywood. Henry Fonda. Yep. Some more Disney stamps came out. Airplanes. More Disney stamps. Another Legend of Hollywood. Judy Garland. More Disney. Okay. And then we go on to another one. Oh, man, these get heavy after a while. That's another thing. These little books are expensive. And then the problem I got is they got 2 posts on them. Okay? It's not a 3-ring binder. It's a 2-poster. And so you got to punch your paper a certain way to get them to fit into these things. This one here starts at 1977. And this is what I started doing. Once I started in 2000, I went to dealers, especially this one guy, and just started buying these. Now, these stamps were 20-cent stamps right here. I could pick these things up for like $0.25 a piece, you know. So I just started buying about twice a year. I would go to the dealer and buy 50 to 100 stamps at a time, you know, or better, and just start filling the book up, you know, all this kind of stuff here. Let me show you this. This is the transportation series, okay, and then here was Great Americans, okay. And I just started buying from that guy everything I could get, you know. The presidents, I think this went up to Kennedy. Let's see if I got anything else interesting in here. Now like I said, these weren't that expensive. You know, these are, especially when you got back into the 3-cent stamps from the 30s up to the 40s, 3 and 4 cent stamps. God, I'd go in there and at the time it was 20 cents a stamp. And like I said, I'd buy them like crazy. I'd just go nuts. Come home with sometimes 50 to 100 stamps to put into this album. And this here, this crazy stuff they did. It's for the postage rate change, the G series, okay. And I've got a piece of paper that tells what each one of these is worth. Otherwise, you wouldn't know unless you got a Scott catalog like I do. You wouldn't know what the value was of that stamp. That's one of the neatest things they did today is the stamps are forever stamps. You buy them and they're good as long as you got them. The postage doesn't change. If it changes, that stamp's still good. Okay. So I've got a lot of forever stamps that I paid 49 cents for, and I can use them on letters as 50 cents. That was one of the neatest things they done. Just on and on. Here's Bugs Bunny. There he is. One of these is perforated. Yeah, this one here, where you could peel this stamp off. This one here is not perforated. You would have to cut it off with a pair of scissors. That's the one they made a mistake on, and everybody was buying it and going nuts over it. And I managed to find me one. And like I said, I think it's going for around $110, $120 for that. I don't know where it's at. I passed it up probably. Here's that Celebrate the Century, starts at 1900. There's the 30s. There's Tweety Bird and Sylvester. I think I passed that one up. I've got one here that, once again, the post office made a mistake and put the wrong guy on the stamp. Okay, see if I can find that real fast. Just thumbing through here. Here it is. It's called The Legends of the West. Okay. Now I don't know which one is which here. Okay. This guy here, and I can't remember if this is the mistake or if this is the mistake, but it's the wrong guy. It's his brother. Okay. So they made a mistake. Post office made a mistake on this. And as soon as they caught it, they printed out the new version with the right guy. And they recalled from all the post offices the ones that were a mistake. Well, people went nuts because some people were able to get it. And all of a sudden, it became really valuable. So in all fairness, the post office said, okay, we'll sell what we got, and that'll be it. So they went ahead and released them, and I managed to get one, and it's valuable. It's probably worth $100 and some. One of these two, I can't remember which one, but as you can see, this guy, if you can see that, that guy, I can't, he's second row, second one in, is different than this guy, second row, second one in. Okay? So that was another mistake the post office made. They make mistakes every once in a while. And if you're lucky enough to be up there at the right spot at the right time, you got yourself a rare stamp, and it could be worth some money. Alright, that's the end of that book. This one goes from 77 on up. Now we get back into the rare stuff. This one ends at 76. What's this end at? No, this ain't the one. Here, it's the other book. Hold on, let me get the other book. Okay, I got it. Am I boring anybody yet? I know, like I said, a lot of people asked about this. Let me see, this one should end at 76. Alright, but this one here starts from the beginning of the U.S. stamps. 1847, I think, was the first U.S. stamp. I don't have it, wish I did, but this is where you get into some money. The very first one that I've got is from like 1851 to 1856. Alright. I believe that's, yeah. You can see that? Is it expensive? Not really. It might be worth something. I got one there. You get into some of this old stuff, and now you can see it's been canceled. This is used stamps. But that's usually the only way I can afford them. Alright, and then, you know, these things, you know, they are worth a couple bucks. You know, even though they're used. And like I said, that's, you know, it's the only way I can afford them. This set here of Columbia, they call it the Columbian Expedition. If you get down to this one, you're going to be paying $1,000 some for that stamp. Okay. Most of these are running probably $30 to $50 a piece, but you get down to the end where it gets I don't know what that is, a $5 stamp. You get up into the thousands. You know, that's why I had to stop there. You know, every once in a while I'll go to a show and I'll look for one and see if I can afford it. I thought these were pretty cool. Those are some nice looking stamps. Those are the old days. 1901. And there's things on here, it says, okay, if you see up on top up here, it says watermarked USPS. So what you got to do is you got to turn the stamp over, and I use lighter fluid. You put it in a little tray, you cover it with lighter fluid, and on the back of the stamp, this will become visible, this USPS. All right. It's not visible with the naked eye. Very, very few of them you can see with the naked eye. You have to get it moist. And like I said, I use lighter fluid because it evaporates, doesn't damage the stamp, and that will show up. There's a lot of stamps that are watermarked and unwatermarked. Same kind of stamp. The only way to tell them apart is by that watermark. See, all these say watermarked. Oh gosh, I'm getting tired. Still don't get much sleep at night. Doing about 5 or 6 hours. This is when they became, the stamps became a little less in value and I could afford a few more of them. Now I get up here. Let me see here where I really take off. Around 1919 to 21, down here on the bottom, is when I really started taking off and filling these books up. Let me show you what I mean here. Okay, like that. Pretty much got that whole series. Now some of them are used, granted, because they get a little expensive, but at least I got that whole series. And see what I mean? These are coils up here, and they say perf 10 vertically. That means that perforation that's running up and down the side, you measure that with a gauge, and it should come out on the number 10, and that's perf 10 vertically. Some of them might be 11, you know. And most of these, all this row, these and these are all mint, never been used. And like I said, that's when I start taking off and filling this book up. I need to put the camera down a little bit lower. Let me unloosen it back here. Hold on. There we go. That's a little better. I know you'd like to see my face, but... And then I get right up here and a little bit more. These are all mint, never been used. We're at 1931, that's where I pretty much start. 1931, all these are mint, and everything in the book thereafter is mint, never been used. And and in the 30s, I think was some of the best looking stamps the post office ever put out. Okay. I'll show you something here in a minute. I think it's this series here. Let me get, yep. This series here. Okay. 1934. Woodrow Wilson, the president during the war. No, Roosevelt. President during the war. What am I thinking? Anyway, he was a stamp collector. Okay. And the post office made this series of stamps. And they came along, and for him, now you can see, they're all perforated. Okay. In other words, you know, you can rip them apart from one another. But for him, they came along and made them unperforated. Well, the public went nuts. They said, well, hey, if he can get them, we want them. So then the post office started producing them for everybody, because everybody started getting mad. But that's some of the crazy stuff the post office did back in the day. Made stamps especially for the president. Think what would happen today if they tried something like that. These are all mint. And like I said, from 1930 what? 1931. Yep, 1931 to today is all mint. Just about every spot in my books are filled up. with mint stamps. Okay, I just go on and on. And this is, like I said, here's 3-cent stamp. This was the years they were putting out 3-cent stamps. I was picking them up for 20 cents a piece because that was the minimum value at the time from a dealer, 20 cents a piece. Today, I think they're a quarter. And I just go and go and go. There's 4 cents. 4 cents, same thing, 20 cents a piece. Like I said, I'd buy 50 to 100 at a time. Come home and sit down on the weekend and fill my books up. Now we're up to 5-cent stamps. There's another series they ran. Different people. Some more of them. See, I'm sitting here in this chair right now, leaning forward, and I don't know, I guess it's because I lost so much weight. I got a bony ass now. My ass is hurting me, sitting here in this chair. There's not a lot of cushion in it. Alright, that's pretty much the end of this book. This is my favorite book of all of them, because they're all old, and this was crazy stuff. I didn't collect like this. You might see some blank pages here. That's because they were in pairs. I got the stamp. What do I need it in a pair for? And that's a pair, where 2 of them are still connected together. That's a pair. I don't collect like that. I didn't care about that. There's a lot of ways, different ways to collect stamps. A lot of people, whenever they come out with a new stamp, they'll have a ceremony, okay? And it's in some city somewhere, and they'll have a ceremony, and they'll have envelopes there, and you can also buy them online. And they'll have an envelope there with something kind of fancy drawing or something, and the stamp has been canceled, okay? That's called the first day cover. A lot of guys just collect first day covers. I am not interested in that. I don't collect like that. A lot of guys collect by what they call plate numbers. When these stamps come out, they're usually in a sheet of 20, and there'll be a number on the bottom of it. It's called a plate number. A lot of guys only collect that. I don't do that. I got one more book I want to show you, and that'll be it. Not only do I collect regular postage, okay, not only do I collect regular postage, let's see, back here in the back, from the year 2000, I started collecting duck stamps, okay. This is from the year 2000. Now you talk again, once again, I was paying, there was 2 different versions of the same stamp, $15 a piece, okay. And then the junior duck stamp. Now I missed the very first one, 2000, the year 2000. I didn't get the junior duck stamp. This is a, where's it at? Junior duck stamp. That's a $5 stamp. That's for kids to go hunting with. And these are what you use them for, to go hunting. I missed the very first one of 2000. That stamp turned out being worth $400. Lucky me. And then they started something here. Let me show you. Here it is. They started this. All right. Let me make sure this is the right one. Yeah. They had the 2 different versions, $15 a piece, junior duck stamp, and then they started with the artist signed ones. There's the artist signature. So there's that I had to order from a special place. I think that was about $35 a piece. And they did that for a few years. There's another one, artist signed. Okay, let's see, 2011 they did it again. I think they did it for about 5 or 6 years. There was one 2012. 2013, another artist signed. And every one of them I had to order from a special place, and they were a little bit more expensive. Then they raised the price of them to $25. So there's $50, $55 for stamps now, for the duck stamps. All right, the rest of this book, these are special stamps. They are, what do they call these? Semi-postal stamps, where they take a special stamp plus 11 cents or plus 20 cents, whatever. Okay? They only do that every once in a while. Then I got airmail stamps, all right? Start with the very first one, C1. There's that Jenny that became upside down by mistake, that became worth a lot of money. I don't have it. Wish I did. These three I do not have, what they call the Zeppelins. The three of them together, probably close to $2,000. Don't have them. I want them. Anybody's got one, send it to me. But I got all the airmail except for those three. I got some pages here I can rip out. I don't need them. But this is all airmail. Okay. Air post stamps. Alright. And they don't put out a whole bunch of them. I don't think they... 2012, I think, that looks like the last time they put out an airmail stamp. Here's special delivery stamp, air post special delivery. Special delivery. Where are we at here? I don't have a date in here. Oh, 1888, 1895, 1917, 1922, 1922 to 25, special delivery. Registration stamp, 1911. Certified mail, 1955. They only did one of them. Only did one of them. And then you get into postage due. I got a few of those. Not many. Let's see here. Then you get into what they call official, which was basically used by the government. Okay. These were official stamps, 1873. Basically, the only people that could use these was the government. From 1983 on up, they kind of went to this type style, and got all those. Then we get into, let's see what's next, periodicals, newspapers. I don't have none of those. And I think the next thing I get into is, well, here's what they call envelopes. Okay, carrier stamps, envelopes. I got a couple in here, and I got a whole bunch laying over on the table I got to go through. Let me see if I can show you what this is. This was actually an envelope you bought that had the stamp already printed on it. Okay, here's a couple. Right there, like that. Okay, I've got a few of those sitting over on the other side I got to go through. There's one. Kind of put some of them in here. Let's see. I'll get back here to, here's official envelopes, more of them. Now, here's where I get into what I call the revenue. I'm trying to collect some of these. Trying to get into this. Confederate States. I've only got one of those. Those were the stamps used during Civil War by the Confederates. But these are revenues. These are some pretty stamps. Look at it. You can see that. See, I got a couple in here that are really sharp looking. But I've been trying to collect some of these. Every time we go to a stamp show, I give a list to the wife of what we need, and she goes off looking for them. Once again, you know, the newer in years you get, the less expensive they are. But they don't do this no more. They don't make revenue no more. And it was for all kinds of stuff. I can't read it now. Different things. Let me see if I can read that one. I can't read it. There's an express. It's fancy writing and I can't read it. I think I got one or two in here that's really sharp looking. And most of these at the time were all hand canceled. Or post office took a guy with a pencil or a pen and canceled them by hand. Boy, it must be getting ready to rain outside. That thunder, I thought somebody crashed. Yeah, that's thunder. And it's still going. I'm going to have to get upstairs and see what's going on, check on the dog. Yeah, I don't know where that fancy one is that I had. But you can see I got a lot to fill up here. And there's a difference. This is number 2C. There's a number 2A and maybe a number 2D. And the difference between them would be A is probably not perforated, no perforation. C has got perforations. B might be a coil. Different things. See, this says documentary on these. Documentary. And then I get in, let's see, what else we got here? There's more revenue. Okay. Battery died on me. I haven't used this camera in almost a year, and it was sitting over there dead. I've been trying to charge it. So now I got it hooked up to the wall plug. And but you get the idea. You know, I don't know where it cut off at, but you got the idea of what I'm up against. This here is the start of 2018. I'm starting to collect those. And I got a long ways to go here. Here's something else they did. It's something new. It's the first time they ever did this. It's ice cream sickles. And they're scratch and sniff. You're supposed to be able to scratch it and you can smell the flavor. Okay, it's the first time they ever done that. I've got a couple of those because I think they might become rarities. But let me show you what I'm really up against. I've got bins over on the other side of the room with stamps in them. Look at this. Stamps upon stamps upon stamps. And a lot of this is foreign stamps. So I have to go through all these, see what country they are, get them sorted out. And a lot of them, there's some in here that are what you call on paper, where somebody cut them off an envelope. And what you got to do is you got to soak them. You get some hot water, put it in a bowl or something, lay that in there, and in about 2 minutes, that stamp is floating loose. It comes free. Now you can't do that with the U.S. anymore. They've been using them self-adhesive stamps, and they're using some kind of glue that you just can't do that no more. Not to the U.S. anyway. There's a bunch more. A lot of foreign stamps. This is probably also all foreign. There's a couple thousand stamps in there, you know. And then I got one over there with all US in it. And it needs to be gone through. I think a lot of that I'll probably throw away. They're all used, but they're all on paper, and I'm not going to sit there and soak off 1,000 stamps. Most of them I already got. There's that thunder again. You hear that? But I've got three books over there. I'll take the camera off here in a second and walk over here and show you what I got. But I got 3 binders over there with all used stuff in it. And I've got so many of it, I don't need no more. So most of the used, I'll go through and see if I can find an old stamp or something that might be worth something. But, you know, you got to go through 1,000 some stamps. That takes a while. So let me get the camera off here, walk you to the other side, and then that'll be the end of it. All right, I'm going handheld here, so it might be a little shaky. But you can see here, all those green ones up there is what I was showing you. Those 3 right here are my, what I call stock. Most of them are all used. I would like to start a used collection someday. And then I get down over here, and I just don't collect US. There's Czechoslovakia there. I can see China. There's 4 books for China. There's China, and then there's, after the revolution, the Republic of China and the People's Republic of China. So China is kind of crazy. For a while there, you could pick up China real cheap. Now all of a sudden, it's taken off. I can see I got Chile, Belgium. I think Australia is in front of that. Second shelf, I can see Spain, Poland, Russia. Russia is nuts. They put out so many stamps, it's unreal. I got 3 or 4 books there, but I don't have that many. I just started printing out pages, and I thought, this is crazy. Down there, I can see Ireland, Great Britain, a couple books of those, a couple books of Germany. There's a small one in between there. That's like occupied countries of Germany. Let me see what that other one says. Hungary, I can see Hungary. And there's one in front of that, I don't know what it is. Then you get down here, and this is all stamps that I got to go through that we bought at stamp shows, you know. And most of these are all got stamps in them that need to be gone through. And these books up here, I pretty much emptied out all these up here. And then you get into the bins. There's tons of stamps in each one of these. Okay. Each one of them bins has got stamps in them. I got thousands and thousands of stamps that need to be gone through. And then up here in the corner, you can see what I talk about when I say Scott books. Those are pretty old. I can't remember the year on them, 2002 or something. But the one on the top, I try to keep up with. I got to get me a new one of those. But those are what they call the Scott catalogs. That's got every stamp from every country ever made. So you can see the mountain I have to climb. It's just, it's why sometimes once I get started on this, I don't want to stop. And this takes up more time than building a model. All right, let me put the camera back on the tripod and end this video. All right, let's end this video because I know it's going to be a long one. Put my cigarette out. So you can see what I've been doing, what I've been up to, and I got a different camera angle because the cord on for the plug into the wall isn't very long, but at least it's working and it's charging the battery. So like I said, I don't know if I'm going to be down here building the model anytime soon or not. It's a pain in the ass for me to go up and down them steps. And then to sit in this chair for hours. My legs, my bottom parts of my legs, my calves are hurting right now. So I'm going to play this out, see how it goes. I might have to change my insurance next year. I got this insurance through the union. You know, I was a retired Teamster, and once a year I go over there and see what they got available, and I pay nothing for my insurance. You know, now Social Security, you know, they take their money out, but I pay nothing for insurance, and that's pretty good. You know, I got drug coverage and everything, but I think I'm gonna have to come the first of the year when it comes time to renew it. I'm gonna see what I can get, maybe get a little bit better coverage, because I know a fellow that had this back operation, and it's kind of what turned me off to it. He had the same thing, sciatic nerve. He couldn't move. He laid on the floor for days. They went in through his stomach and through his back and replaced a vertebrae and straightened some of his stuff out. And he swears by it. He's walking around feeling fine. But that was like a $140,000 operation. That's another thing that's killing me. All these little things I do, you know, those 2 procedures, well, actually 3 to my back I had, the cataract surgery. I'm getting doctor bills, you know. Cataract surgery was like $250 an eye I have to pay. And then the back was the same way. Each procedure was about $250. So I'm constantly paying these doctor bills off. Which, you know, $250, that's my boat I want to get. But I might be looking at some different insurance, and I might have to take this and go with the operation if things don't get better, because I don't want to live the rest of my life like this. And I'm losing my voice. So I think that's it. I just wanted to let everybody know I'm still around, still hanging in there. I'm doing my best. But and I really appreciate all the comments and emails I got from guys wanting to know what's going on. So if you don't hear from me a while, don't worry about me. I'm here. I might be able to email you back or whatever now that I can see. Like I said, this cataract surgery, nothing to it. If anybody's thinking about having it done, it's a piece of cake. You spend about 3 hours there, but the procedure only takes 15 minutes. It's more getting you prepped and recovery afterwards. You don't feel a thing afterwards. There's no pain, no nothing. You just got to put drops in your eyes for about a month. I'm still putting drops in my left eye. Got about another week of that to go, and it's done. All right, so enough about me. I know enough guys out there have got problems of their own, but so there's that thunder again. So enough about me. I better go up and check on the dog and see if she ain't throwing a fit, and see what's going on outside. All right, see you guys again later.